What's up, MFFLs? Harrison Graham here. Is a Luka Doncic extension looming? If he is able to be an All-NBA participant once again, like he has in each of the last 4 seasons, he will be eligible to sign yet another Supermax with the Dallas Mavericks. Bobby Marks of ESPN has a little thought and update on that here. He said if he does earn All-NBA and the 23-24 season, Doncic would then be eligible to earn a 5-year projected $318 million Supermax extension. He is not allowed to sign the extension in 2024 because he will have only 6 years of service, but he will have met the criteria of All-NBA in 2 of the immediately preceding 3 seasons and will be able to sign that extension in 2025. So I think that's a key detail. He'd be eligible for it, but not actually able to sign it until 2 off seasons from now. Marks also said this: if the salary cap increases 10% over the next 3 years, the Doncic extension would be $367.5 million. The last year of the contract would be $83.6 million. And Coop, obviously, he's worth every penny if that happens. But it is crazy to see these NBA contracts just turn into what they are. I mean, I remember when Dirk turned down like $15 million on like an extension he got. I think he could have gotten like $115 million and he took like $100 or something like that. Like $100 million, that's like Dylan Brooks almost.
Yeah,
like,
Dylan Brooks just signed an $80 million contract with the Rockets.
It's so ridiculous.
And you have Jason Tatum, who just signed the first $300 million plus contract in NBA history as well. So the cap's obviously going up. The money's going up for all these Supermax guys. But like we said, Luka would be worth every penny. Make no mistake about it. He's a top 5, maybe top 3 player in the NBA, and he is the Mavericks' only hope for the future. So the Mavs need to get this deal done, and he will make All-NBA honors. Let's get that out of the way right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like having one of the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks in the NFL. You don't really have a choice but to pay him top dollar. Like the Philadelphia Eagles, like Jalen Hurts has had one good season. It was a very good season. They had to make him the highest paid quarterback. Like, they did not have a choice. That is just how this works. So, Luka, whether you think he's the best player in the league or the 4th best, or maybe you even think he's a little lower for whatever reason, you have no choice, especially when you're an organization like the Mavericks and you're not constantly able to bring in premium talent in here. And like we said, Coop, he's absolutely worth it. Even, like, some of the things we don't like about him, like the bitching at the refs all the time, at times the lack of maturation. I mean, you're talking about a player that even last year, Coop, when it was a frustrating season, still added 4 points per game than the year before on the same efficiency. Like, the guy gets better every single year, and there's just no replacing him.
Look, we know he's a generational player, and like you said, there's no replacing him at all. And I do think the Mavericks are actually in a pretty strong position simply because of the amount of money they can give him. Yeah. I mean, if they can give him the $367 million, I don't think another team would be able to pay him, if I remember correctly, more than $300 million. And Luka is not forfeiting $70 million.
Yeah, and it's one thing I actually do really like that the NBA has done under Adam Silver's leadership. I think there's a lot of things he's left to be desired, but I think the encouragement in these contracts for homegrown talent to stay home is a good thing.
They've heavily incentivized keeping your homegrown talent.
And it just evens out the playing field. There's less of, well, the Lakers are always going to be a top 3 team than, I mean, I say the Knicks, they haven't been, but like it's less of, oh, we'll just get to a big market if you stay. Like Milwaukee, like 10 years ago, there's no way they would have been able to keep Giannis.
Absolutely no chance.
He would have just gone somewhere else, but now you see guys staying in these smaller markets. Not that Dallas is a small market, but the point being is I do appreciate that the NBA did that. And to your point with Luka making his decision, like, yeah, maybe down the road, like if he's closer to 30 or something like that, or, you know, maybe 28, 29, like he would heavily consider wanting to go elsewhere. But you still sign the extension, then you
figure it out.
I mean, that's how it goes.
The way the NBA works now is you sign the extension, and if you're not happy, 3 months from then, you just ask for a trade. Now, it may end up like Damian Lillard, where you're still not traded to this point in time. But yeah, I mean, if Luka really wanted out, he could sign the extension and he could ask out later.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Here's more from Tim McMahon. He says, Mark, this was from back.
In April during exit interviews. He basically asked Mark Cuban if he believes that Luka Doncic will stay in Dallas, and Cuban said he does, but we have to earn that. So I think Mark Cuban and the Mavs front office is aware of the urgency to put a winning team around Luka to be able to keep him.
And I actually do appreciate that about Cuban too. Like, that's just humility and honesty. Like, hey, like, we have to earn the right for him to want to be here. Like, I think you know what that quote acknowledges too. Like, he's not Dirk, man. Like, Dirk, he's not gonna wait 10, 12 years into his career of not winning a title. Like, could he wait 7 or 8?
Maybe.
9? Maybe. But
Maybe.
Like, this guy is such a competitor, and not that Dirk wasn't. Like, Dirk was a great competitor, but
he was loyal to a fault almost.
yeah, like there were if he left Coop
you
after
couldn't blame him.
08 or 09 or whatever, would you have really blamed him at that point? Whereas Luka's probably not doing that, man. Like, if 2-3 seasons go by and the best this team has been was that conference title run 2 seasons ago when they got waxed in the conference finals, like, that's not going to cut it for Luka.
No one will be booing Luka because he left the Mavericks if they failed to win a title.
Booing Mark Cuban, that might be a different story. So, will Luka be a Maverick for life just like Dirk was? It's so crazy. Like, you almost forget that they overlapped.
The one
for a
season.
season here. Type Y for yes, type in for no. Let us know in the comments below if you think Luka will be a Maverick for life. And I think that's where we shift the conversation here, Coop. How can the Mavs earn Luka's trust long term? I mean, I think convincing Kyrie to stay, even though Kyrie's, we know all about Kyrie, but getting a all-star level talent here in the first place and convincing him to stay, I think that's a good first step.
For sure. They had to keep Kyrie in order to have, I think, any chance of keeping Luka happy with this organization, and they did that. They made the trade for Kyrie knowing that this offseason would be a big one for them, and I think they made the trade trying to just get a 3-month head start on trying to get a marquee free agent, which they did in Kyrie Irving, signing him to a 3-year deal. So I think that was a big first step. The team obviously isn't a finished product, and they still have moves to be made in order to be that elite team, but obviously keeping Kyrie, Luka's running mate, very big first step.
Yeah, it was a big first step, and you mentioned on that note too, like, more win-now moves. Like, I think, like, they've done some minor things that I like. Like, I like getting the 2 young, talented players in the draft.
Grant Williams was a good move.
The thing I like about the 2 draft picks, too, is, like, they could become trade chips eventually,
Absolutely.
too, if you need them to. So I like that. You're still, like you said, you need to get a better center at some point, but I think that can still happen. Obviously, you got to be competitive this every year. Like, last year can never happen again.
It cannot happen again while Luka is on this team. If it does, he will be gone.
The floor has to be making the playoffs.
Agreed. Not making the play-in. You have to be a top 6 seed. Yeah. I think that's the floor.
When you have Luka and Kyrie, like, you've got to have enough around those guys to at least be a top 6 seed. So you've got that. And then I think Coop long term, and I think it's something that has shortened James Harden's prime, Coop, is the usage rate. Like, Harden's still a nice player, but he went from, like, top 5 in the NBA to he's like a player that teams don't want now because he's just a cooked product.
When he was with Houston, he was used so much and he played so many minutes in so many games that it wore his body down to where he is now, where he's basically just a role player making a lot of money. Hopefully that doesn't happen to Luka, but as we saw last season, the Mavs won 38 games. It took every single ounce of energy out of Luka to win those games.
Yeah, and I think that's where Kyrie comes in, right? Like, he's just got to take more of the workload off Luka's plate. Here's a quote from Mark Cuban on how to keep Luka when he was asked a few months ago. He said, "Win championships. It's amazing how that cures all. Before Giannis won, everyone was like, where's he going? Where's he going? He's not staying. He's not staying." Nikola Jokic, while they haven't won, this was before then, Dirk before the Mavs won it all in 2010, 2011. There's no great player, no superstar where they don't question, what are you going to do if you haven't won yet? And I'll take it a step further, Coop. Giannis already seems to be unhappy again.
The Bucks won in 2021, and Giannis already seems like there's chatter out there that he is not happy with what the Bucks are doing. So winning doesn't even cure all at this point.
The point is, when you have a superstar, you want him to be happy long term. You got to be contending for championships. Eventually, you have to win one, and you got to be in the mix every year. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I think we said this a few videos ago. When you look at the Giannis situation, if that's an early exit again, like, he may want out despite winning a title in this decade. It's just crazy how impatient these players get, but that's the reality. They want to win, they want to make a bunch of money, and if they don't feel like both of those can be accomplished in a city and an organization, they're going to want to move to greener pastures.
It's a big year for Mark Cuban and the Mavericks. There's no mistake about it. It's a big year for the trajectory of the franchise after a losing season. And keep in mind, the Mavericks have not had many losing seasons here in the 21st century, okay? So it is a big year for Mark Cuban and the Mavericks in order to keep Luka happy, in order to keep this thing moving in the right direction. They just have to win games. Have to.
No doubt about it. BetUS, our sportsbook partner, here at Chat Sports. What have I told you guys the last 2 weeks? Bet on the Dallas Cowboys. The defense is lethal. The offense is efficient. Go bet on them right now. Chatsports.com/MFFL. Promo code MFFL. Isn't it the Cardinals this week?
Cardinals.
I don't care what the point spread is. They are covering. Chatsports.com/MFFL. Promo code MFFL. Obviously, you can bet on some NBA futures. Luka Doncic for MVP. Dallas Mavericks playoff odds, all that stuff. The over-under, by the way, 44.5 wins.
Gas
for
the over.
I do like the over. I'm not saying our goal is 50 wins. I don't know if they'll get there, but I think 45 is a reasonable expectation. So I like the over. Get started today. Create an account right now. Chatsports.com/MFFL. That promo code MFFL will get you a 125% deposit bonus, a.k.a. more money to bet with BetUS. All right, let's talk about this injury situation too, Coop, because we were both pissed off that the Slovenia head coach, and I guarantee you Luka signed off on it because he loves playing for Slovenia, which I respect, but he played 37 minutes in the 5th place game, 37 minutes in the 7th place game, and then, of course, afterwards, because he was nicked up in that World Cup and he seemed to further that thigh injury, he was asked how it felt, and he said, yeah, it does not feel okay. Here's more from Luka after that. He said, I don't know what to say. It's not okay. At the same time, I have to prepare for one more game. This was after the 5th place game, and then he played the next game. And then I got to prepare for a whole season in the NBA. I play no matter what, even in the Olympic qualifiers, if only I'm healthy. And it's like,
it worries me, man.
I respect him because I think he feels the weight of carrying that country in these events. He's the only player worth the shit. Let's be honest. You're playing with a bunch of part-time players who have no chance of playing in the NBA.
I don't even think it's so much as carrying Slovenia. I think he sees himself as the face of international basketball, period.
Good point.
And he feels an obligation to play in these games. And kudos on him if he wants to play, but man, if he is not healthy and he's playing in a 5th place game that doesn't mean anything, that concerns me. It does. And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier in managing his workload. I mean, that is not managing your workload.
Yeah, it's just like, dude, you don't owe anyone anything. You've played in every game that mattered. Like, once you're eliminated from meddling,
that's it.
Shut it down, man. And hell, you can even talk me in like, hey, these guys have bought tickets. This is their only chance to see Luka play. Okay, play him in the first quarter.
And
play
then
him 10 minutes.
Agreed.
That's fine. But 37 minutes in a 7th place game, like.
And keep in mind, those 2 games that he played after Slovenia was eliminated, he played more minutes in those games than he did in the ones that counted.
That Slovenia head coach should be fired.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is, but that is unbelievable to me. Now,
so Luka sustained this injury on March 8th in New Orleans. Ironically enough, I was at that game in New Orleans where the Mavs almost made a ferocious comeback. But look, he still played well after the injury in 10 games, still averaged 27, 8 and 8. 45% from the field. Now the 3-point shooting was down a little bit, but these are still Luka-like numbers, so it's not like it really impacted him on the court, but you just don't want to go in the season with a nagging injury, something you have to deal with for 6 months and 82 games.
Yeah, it's just wear and tear. Like, it's not even just short-term either. It's like it's long-term. Like, you want to avoid these bone bruises, these soft tissue injuries. Like, it's just not something you're looking for. Just tie it back to the first part of the conversation. Like, it's such a critical year for this team. Like, you need to play well the entire season. You can't be coming into opening night 80%. Like,
exactly.
That is just not what you need.
The past 3 seasons, the Mavs have come out slow out of the gate, and that is not an option this year.
Yeah, and like, look, if he needs to not practice much in training camp,
sure.
That's
if he
fine.
needs to not play in the preseason, now he will play in Madrid because obviously, that's more or less his hometown, and he will go play there. But if they want to sit him for the Abu Dhabi game, if they want to sit him in all the games that are back in Dallas, please do so.
Yeah, perfectly fine with that. Show Luka some love. Get the 77s going in the comment section below. Coop and I ramp it up for the regular season.
Let's go, baby. Training camp just around the corner.
Yeah, what's that, a week from tomorrow?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's ride.
27th. He's Jeffrey Cooperstein. I'm Harrison Graham. Get the 77s going. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys. Cool.
Send that.
Dude, unbelievable.